Good evening, everybody. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Stims.
Here.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Here.
Mayor LaBrus.
Here.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 Hackensack. Notice having been published according to law with a copy on file in the city clerk's office and a copy posted on the bulletin board in City Hall.
Thank you. Would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and invited guests. This is the Council of the Whole meeting for February 26, 2019. First on the agenda is the Johnson Park Greenhouse. Obviously, the city of Hackensack for many years has tried to utilize the greenhouse and revive its practical use, and we've obviously recreated and employed the use of our environmental commission, which is very eager to make that property and resource useful for the community and for the city. However, there's always a cost associated to all of this. The committee does not bring the financial resources to do this, so there's a process. And unfortunately, you know, the adage that government moves a little slower sometimes moves a little slower. So a couple of the concerns that I have is that we've requested financials for the investigative part from DMR, and they provided two quotes. One is for, one second.
9,000.
One is for 9,000 and the other one's for 10. The 9,000 cost is for the, let me make sure I give the right price to the, is for the assessment of the building first, and the second is the 10,000 would be for the asbestos removal and cleanup to make it environmentally safe, and that price comes out to $10,290. So essentially, we have $19,000 to make the building whole as far as environmentally safe, and also how we could progress with that. Some other concerns and questions that came up is the board that's very eager is willing to put forth some efforts for a donation of funds. That may be also an issue for the city because the board is picked by the council and the city can't solicit funds directly. So I don't know whether we'll have to work that out with our legal city attorney. Can they accept donations? There would be an issue of installing a fence, repair, safety, entry and exit. How much would the involvement of the Department of Public Works, the hours of operation and approval of DMR of the proposal? So I think the first thing we need to find out is the mayor and council in support of approving the funds to do the research by DMR to make it environmentally safe, and also the assessment of it. And that essentially works out to be just shy of $20,000. And that approval will commence these steps in order. Unless, you know, we have the president of the head of the Environmental Commission here to, unless Gary's got some extra checks that I'm not aware of. He didn't raise his hand, so I'm gonna go with probably not so much today, but we do appreciate your efforts and your eagerness to help the city move that project on respectfully. But we need the support of the mayor and council financially to start this process. Number two.
Isn't DMR going to present?
Pardon me? I don't think
Are
there's.
you going to have something to talk
Yeah,
to
they
us
have.
about? Or
I'm
give us...
here to, hi, I'm Lloyd Rosenberg.
Yes,
DMR.
hi Lloyd.
I'm in place of Fran. I apologize for being here, not Fran being here, but
We're happy to see you.
thank you very much.
Better looking.
So I can answer questions. I could add to what Ted has said. At your pleasure, however you want to do it. I mean, there are a few things that have to be done to the building to see whether or not it's worthwhile to put the money into repairing it. So naturally, the environmental issues have to be dealt with. There probably is asbestos in the building. The building would be tested by the company that submitted a proposal to identify the nature of the contamination and the extent of it, and come up with a budget as to the remediation. The second part is to see whether or not it's really feasible to redo the building in its current form and structure, to put a new envelope on top of the structure that's there and be self-supported, and that the foundation of that building is structurally supportive to take the impact of renovating the building. So at the end of this phase of it, you would get an assessment of what's there, an identification of the things that needed to be done, and a cost to make the adjustments to the building to make it habitable and usable as it should be. There are examples of these kind of buildings around. It's been done before. We would recommend not to put a glass structure on top of it, but to put a fabric structure on top of it, which would be lighter. But the removal of any asbestos or environmental issues have to be dealt with first to see whether or not that cost would be something that you'd want to invest in. Unfortunately, it's going to cost, it's a significant improvement to the building to make it habitable. So these are the steps that Ted has outlined to get to the point of being able to assess the long-term cost of the project. This is just a snapshot of what you got and what it's going to take to make it usable.
Lloyd, do you have a timeline on how long it would take to come up with the answer for the things you're talking about?
I think it should take within 2 months.
Within 2 months, you would have an answer?
Within 2 months.
To do both pieces?
Yes. Yeah, they're independent.
All right.
I don't know if anybody from the commission has any questions.
Anybody
Are
from
you
the,
going to say something?
anybody from the commission?
Gary Tizzano, Chairman of the Hackensack Environmental Commission. Good evening, Mayor and City Manager, and sir from DMR. I anticipated myself personally that it would probably take most of this year to try and at least get the studies completed and then move forward with the council to try and get something going to either rehab it or to totally rebuild. We've had several walkthroughs, people on the commission with DPW as well. Granted, we're not licensed architects or any type of abatement people on asbestos or environmental issues, but we had a pretty clear feeling on what it looks like in there, and we feel pretty confident that it should be saved. I think structurally, just by looking at it, we think it's sound. A while back, a high school was in there with Mrs. Kaminsky with this Go Green Club for a few years, and then all of a sudden they couldn't go in anymore. The comment was that the glass wasn't safe enough above, so they had to leave, and that was a while back. Asbestos, yeah, we know of the asbestos paneling on the kick going around the outside. It's a corrugated panel. Yes, it's asbestos. Whatever else is inside is another issue. But we feel confident that I think the city can save that greenhouse. And when I hear about a fabric on top or some type of a fiberglass panel, it'll work because TNEC has that on their old greenhouse, and we went there. So we know that it does transmit heat and light, and it works. So if that would probably be a cost-saving proposal on that right off the bat. But anyway, we're well aware of what's going on. In the meantime, we're happy that the council approved to have the community garden, which we can get up and running this year. So there's plans to do that, and that program would come underneath recreation and work in conjunction with DPW. But that's all I want to have to say at that. I appreciate you letting me come up and speak, and thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Anybody else from up here? Have any comments? Seeing none?
Number 2 for,
Anything that we can do just to support this project, I am all in favor to do so.
number 2 for discussion is the stigma-free chairperson and deputy chairperson appointment. They have met, but obviously we had a canceled council meeting, so the proposed chairman would be Susan McVeigh, our health officer, and our deputy chairperson would be Allison from the clerk's office. If there's any discussion that need to be held, but I'm going to move on. The fee schedule do changes for parks and recreation. This outgrew from a request to make sure that with the city of Hackensack is charging the appropriate fees. These fees that are presented for you are from the research done by Rose, our acting rec director. There is no plan to adopt this tonight. We just wanted to give you these proposed fees, let you review them. Obviously, we need there's a couple things that seem to be a little high that we need to address, but I also, I encourage department heads to make sure that the city of Hackensack is certainly charging the appropriate fees commensurate with other communities, because obviously these fees are basically then returned back for either the effective operation of our rec department or programs that we provide, because the city obviously provides these through taxpayer resources, and in most cases we don't charge the additional except for these individual groups. So if that we will have another review. Any comments or issues that the council people, please bring them to my attention.
But these charges, they should be for people that are not residents of the city.
These are all issues that need to be addressed in this. So you folks have them, please mark it up, come see me or Jackie, and we'll sort this out and make sure that the final product that is being introduced by the rec department that you folks hopefully will finally approve will be appropriate. Next is the truck parking toll ordinance. We've been round and around with the towing. Obviously, this is to make sure that the city is in compliance. This doesn't allow the city to come onto private property and remove vehicles. Those issues are held through zoning. We just need to make sure that the city has the appropriate language. The Clemens.
Yeah, I mean, forgive me, I have a bit of a cold, so my voice is shot already. But, essentially this is just giving the city authorization to be able to tow trucks that might be parked on city streets inappropriately in residential areas, and to tow them and place them into storage, because we do have restrictions on parking of these vehicles, except when they're actively loading or unloading. So in addition to that part of it, now if for whatever reason we find a tractor trailer parked on a city street in the particular zone that this ordinance covers, we can, in addition to summonsing it, we can actually tow it, get it off the street, and require whoever is the owner of it to have to pay the appropriate fee to get the truck back. So again, requested as a public safety and public health and welfare concern that we have the ability to do that and have it be specifically authorized in the city code.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next is the reappointment of Judge Denise. Judge Denise has continued to wish to serve the city of Hackensack. All judges' appointments are for a 3-year term. So that's what's represented here. So that'll be a mayor and council decision in his appointment. There is number 6 is the shared services with Woodridge for Child Health Conference. Basically, this is a renewal. It's a yearly fee of $1,000. that we charge Woodridge for providing that service through our health department. Apparently, Woodridge likes the agreement, and apparently our health department likes the agreement. So we serve the a bigger community at large, and I think we all benefit from, one, the training and the experience. Number 7 is the Suez demand to replace pipes, which initially was proposed that it would take 15 years. However, there is a demand for a commitment from Suez, from North America, to aggressively replace lead service lines that they own. Obviously, lead pipes obviously affect lead in our drinking water, which is a concern in inner cities and communities. So the resolution is to provide the calls for Suez of North America to commit to an aggressive replacement program for the removal of all lead service lines the utility owns in not more than 5 to 7 years. The original customer base was talking about 15 years. So the pressure is on for them to serve the 8,600 customers and remove the lead from these lines. Obviously, it affects birth and child's and long-term health of citizens. So it's an important condition, and obviously they're requesting the city of Hackensack to also offer its support in that commitment. Next is the...
Before we move on, Ted, just for the rest of the council, we also spoke with our engineering project management group to make sure we get from Suez a color-coded, a detailed map, so we know in the city of Hackensack exactly where
the lead
if
is.
any, where these lead pipes are. Because again, we're doing a lot of paving, repaving, we're doing a lot of work on Main Street, and if things need to be replaced, let's do it in a coordinated way, and let's make sure that we work together with them as this happens. So Susan said she would be providing that to us as soon as she can get it from Suez, and you know, hopefully there's not a lot of it in the city. I have absolutely no idea. I don't know if anyone else does, Leo or anybody. No, I mean, I have no idea. And they just said that they found them throughout Bergen County, but kind of didn't give a lot more detail than that.
Right. Number 7 is the revised towing ordinance. In our towing ordinance, when we made the changes to Chapter 159, the ordinance, one of the conditions that was omitted was there was a fee schedule in there for the city that, in my opinion, needs to be struck. If someone breaks down and we have to tow their vehicle, they're going to pay for the condition of it. It shouldn't be a fundraiser for the city of Hackensack. So just so things are clean and we make sure that the city is in good shape here, I'd ask the mayor and council to have that struck from the ordinance. Number 9 is the city of Hackensack, I think, is on an excellent course for building shared services relationships with our other communities, and because we're the county seat with Bergen County. So we have 3 shared services. One is a shared service agreement and resolution for street sweeping and vehicle maintenance, which are 2 separate proposed, that would allow us to utilize Bergen County services at their service garage. And if we either need a street sweeper fixed or vehicle maintenance, we can bring that vehicle if it either exceeds our skill set of our mechanics or because of time. Unfortunately, when things break, sometimes they break it all at once, and we wouldn't be able to get to that. So this proposal that's been obviously provided by Bergen County also has the 69 municipalities in the county of Bergen that are offering that service. In this agreement, on a needs basis, the city of Hackensack would utilize. It's not an automatic. If we need it, it's a resource. It's an additional tool or resource that we could use. And last on my list,
How much are they going to charge us to use it?
there's a whole fee schedule that you have in your book. Depends what the vehicle is, the time,
Based
the
on
use.
size.
It's
More
just,
like a sewer.
But this is only in an emergency, like in other words, if our street sweeper breaks and we need it borrow.
Repaired?
You got tutors now.
Yeah, well, if we needed to borrow one, we could rent one
We
from
could
them.
either
Should
lease
we
one or
choose
have them
to.
fix it.
And plus, there's two parts, so that's one, and then the other part is that some of the repair work that we have, that our guys can't do, that we're farming out at a higher price, they're willing to do at a reduced, a less costly rate for us, to be able to do some of the repair work. And then you didn't get into the fuel one yet, so that's the third one. So that's basically with those two, but this sweeper ordinance is only about renting it, and that's our discretion, so
But
if
I'm
we
just
choose.
saying, we do so many of their streets, these county roads, and they wanna charge us to rent something that, and we clean River Street and Passaic Street and
And
Central Avenue.
I'm gonna let Ted remind us all of the many new things that our friends at the county are doing for us, so.
There's, essentially, shared services, we're all sharing resources. The deputy mayor is 100% right. There's some issues there that as we build this relationship, we're gonna resolve some of these conflicts. Number 10 on my list is the Bergen County Shared Services for fuel. I remind the mayor and council that we have signed a long-term agreement with Bergen County for Salt Dome. The Salt Dome is located on the Bergen County property on Kansas. That agreement saved the city of Hackensack a very large sum of money because we would have had to buy the property, clean the property or develop it, then build a salt dome and then maintain it. So currently Bergen County provides the salt dome, the space, the machine to load it. It was a huge savings to the city of Hackensack. The next issue we had is the city of Hackensack has a problem with its fuel dispensing system down at the garage. Unbeknownst to the city, we had a leak there. So now there's a cleanup that has to commence for environmental cleanup because we had leakage of diesel fuel and gasoline in the ground there, which caused us to put in temporary wells to monitor it. It's an extended period of issues that needs to be addressed. We now have an agreement, if you folks approve tonight, that the Bergen County will now provide fuel service to the city of Hackensack for all of our vehicles. So now, police department, fire department, DPW, drive right over there on the river, pull up to the fuel line, there's a key fob, they put it in, identify the thing, at the end, they send us a bill. I don't have to worry about fuel, I don't have to order fuel, Bergen County provides all of it, one-stop shopping. That is a sizable issue that's gonna save the city time and money, because one, I don't have another location to set up a fuel island to do it unless I went to a private gas station and did this, and they're not gonna do it because they can't buy the fuel at the same rate we can also. So the city of Hackensack is gonna benefit from that relationship. But there are some issues that we're gonna have to work out with Bergen County going forward. However, I think we're on a good place and we're heading in the right direction.
What about the other people that used to get gas from us? What are they?
They made their own arrangement, they pay their own bills, that's up to them. The city of Hackensack does not, when I made that agreement and that arrangement, I negotiated the deal for the city of Hackensack. All the other private entities that used to receive fuel from us, Board of Education, the Housing Authority, and the library, all are making their own arrangement. To my knowledge, they are making their separate agreements with Bergen County, but that's not for me to decide. So. And if there's no other questions, that would complete the city manager's report. Thank you.
A motion to open to the public then.
Offer. I'm sorry, who seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? Anybody from the public who'd like to speak, please come forward, give your name and address to the clerk, and you will have 3 minutes.
Richard Salkin, Hackensack, New Jersey. I'm very pleased that your resolution 10119 is on, RFP for the redevelopment. You must have gotten some really crack legal advice on that one.
Which one? I'm sorry.
Your financial advisor for the redevelopment.
Yes.
Well done. Why don't you take it a step further? Let's go back a few years. It'd be appropriate and legal to go out for competitive bidding, competitive contract process for the ambulance service. Now, the advice you got from your redevelopment attorney said it was nothing more than, a lot of towns do it this way, period. And you know that that's the same statute that's cited here specifically talks about emergency medical services. Now, I believe HUMC will get it again. I think you know that. But at least you're doing the right thing. And, you know, when you're a rookie counsel, you can make those kind of mistakes. You're not rookies anymore. It's appropriate to do it. Think about doing it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Louis DeCepola, Hackensack, New Jersey. So I'm here tonight on behalf of the Hackensack Environmental Commission for another matter. So the Environmental Commission voted unanimously to endorse this council to pass a resolution opposing the Meadowlands Power Plant project. This resolution actually appeared on this COW meeting agenda on October 16th, and was pulled from that agenda. So we've endorsed this letter. I don't know if everyone has gotten it, but I'll just quickly go through it. If you're not aware of the background, there's a proposal to build a 1,200 megawatt natural gas-fired power plant in North Bergen, right on the border of Bergen and Hudson County. And all the electricity would actually be used for New York. I'm just going to highlight some of the reasons why we endorsed this resolution to oppose it. One, that it would be, if completed as is planned, it would be one of the largest sources of air pollution and the second greatest sources of greenhouse gases in New Jersey state. And it would emit hundreds of tons of pollutants annually, including carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, fine particulate matter, and other components. Another reason is that the American Lung Association in their State of the Air 2018 report has already given Bergen and Hudson counties an F rating for ozone pollution, and also reported that the populations have significant cases of pediatric and adult asthma and some other diseases. Another reason is that, you know, one of the UN bodies, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, has issued 2 reports. The second one very dire, saying we got to stop burning fossil fuels. In New Jersey State, from what I understand, the new government is committed to pushing us to renewables. So we absolutely don't need this new power plant. Another reason, this is not, don't consider it a futile action. It's not a hollow action. Right now, 45 towns in Bergen County have passed similar resolutions. I think when I first typed this letter, there was about 13 to 15 back in October. So all the surrounding towns in Bergen, 45, I think out of 70, have already passed it. Hackensack is missing from that list. So we really urge, endorse this council to pass this resolution. It was on the agenda. We hope you get it back. Maybe you can even pass it tonight. I assume you already have the resolution typed. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Regina DePasqua, Parker Avenue. Yeah, I was wondering about that too, because it's right here. The power plant's going to be right here. I was wondering why you hadn't come out opposing it. I understand the political ramifications and who supports it and whatever, but you got to do what's right for the city. And that would be a right thing. TNEC has come out against it, and they're right across the river from us. Another thing, last time I was here, and hopefully the rules will apply to all equally in the future. I was very, very bothered by what you allowed people to do that night. Anyway, there was a gentleman talking about crosswalks on Prospect, and you said you hadn't even looked into it. If you know, from Passaic to Central, there is not one single crosswalk. None. Zero. Tons of apartments, lots of people, no place to cross safely. Who's going to walk down to Passaic Street all the way up to Central? But as I said that night too, right by the hospital, a block from the light at Essex, there's a crosswalk, which is a major traffic jam. People just walk out in the street there. It's a mess there. But have you looked into, as this gentleman had asked that night, crosswalks on Prospect, or some way for people on that end of Prospect Avenue to cross safely?
We have looked at, we've discussed mid-block crosswalks, and yeah, for me personally, I'm not, the one at Thompson by the hospital is a nightmare. It's a nightmare for the city.
But you did it.
That was done quite a while ago, and that was done as part of the agreement, the redevelopment agreement for the cancer center, because originally there was a traffic study for a light at Atlantic and Prospect, from what I understand, and that was decided that that was not a good idea, and that would have been a good crossing point if there was a light there. And in lieu of that, the crosswalk was installed along with the blinking lights. The big problem there is the traffic from the Sanzari building at 360 Essex Street to the hospital is mostly patients going back and forth, or workers going back and forth. Nobody was walking to the crosswalk at Essex.
So people who are visiting the city are treated better than people who live in this city?
No, it's about keeping everybody safe.
Yes, they get a safe crosswalk, but the people down on the other end of Prospect don't get a safe crosswalk.
Well, last I looked, the city's responsible for keeping everybody safe, residents and...
And you've been asked to look into keeping the people on the other end of Prospect
and we are looking
safe.
into it. Right now, we think mid-block crosswalks are sometimes more dangerous than having no crosswalk at all. Believe me. Studies
it's at
show
a
that
corner on one side. It's not mid. It's only mid-block on one side, so you're only half right.
Well, something we can look at, but
Please do.
anybody else from the public? Good evening.
Lorelei Kaminsky, 170 Prospect, Hackensack. I just wanted to, again, approach the council about the greenhouse and thank them again for the go-ahead to get the community garden started, because I think that'll bring a lot of people's attention to that area and to the greenhouse that is sitting there. Again, the proposals that were put out by DMR, I think, you know, again, encourage the city to really think about at least doing that initial study so we can see what is going to be available to us in the future to try to develop that property. I keep getting emails from Fairleigh Dickinson, Montclair State University. They are interested in helping us. We have grants that we're looking at, you know, writing to try to fund this. I know there is some legality with trying to raise money, but if there's some way we can work out some other a group or whatever that can do the raising of the money, like the Alliance Group raised money for the Hack Pack, and you know, so there's ways to do it. I'm sure we can find them. We're all smart people. We can, you know, work at trying to get the funds available to help put the thing back together. Ted, I appreciate you know, your work in helping us with this. So I just want to say, I think as the community grows, I think we need to have this available to people in the city as a place that they can go where they can grow vegetables and use it as an educational facility. The hospital wanted to use it for, you know, healthy eating studies, and you know, there are just so many possibilities that it can be used for. So I just hope we can keep the project moving, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Just curious, Fairleigh Dickinson and Montclair, they want to come and use it for free?
No, they would help us with getting grants and things available, and then also providing us with personnel to help run it for educational programs. So it would be also personnel involved. So, because they could use it with their students.
I go to a lot of the Fairleigh meetings, and they're big on, you know, sustainable, and they have
Right.
a lot of folks that are environmental and sustainable courses of study, and they're like very eager, you know, to get their hands dirty, to come and help and work.
Right. And I'm sure we could maybe even, again, charge a fee for them to use the building. So, you know, there could be an income generation there, because they'll have a facility that they can use to train their students. And Montclair offered us to have somebody here who can actually, again, develop programs and whatever. So they're looking for that, you know, hands-on place that they can train their students. And again, I would assume that, you know, there's going to be some, you know, transfer of funds there. And they're also, Montclair was looking at helping us with funding to try to get PSE&G or some of the grants available out there. So we have people, again, not just us here, but others involved that we can maybe, move the thing along a little quicker. All right, thank
We're
you.
looking forward to seeing it.
I hope so.
It's exciting, yes.
Thank you. If I could real quick, Steve, could you, just look into for us the parameters we need to stay into to do some kind of fundraising for this, or do you start a 501c3? What?
Yeah, well, I mean, and we could certainly talk about it. I mean, I do know that municipal governments are empowered to accept charitable contributions directly without having to do a 501c3. Exactly how the mechanism to accept that would be, there might have to be an accepting resolution, because obviously, depending on what the contribution is, it could affect.
Well, for instance, say there was a major fundraiser to be held, whether it was an event or, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Type of fundraising.
in terms of the city, holding a fundraiser, that's one thing, but we are, I know, specifically empowered by statute to accept charitable contributions. What efforts we can engage in
That's
to
what I wanna
raise
know.
those funds
Right.
is something
Or-
I would have to look at
Or
a little
whether a
bit
committee
further.
can be formed to do that.
Yeah,
You know what
okay.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm generally familiar with the issue, but the specifics are
Let's
levels
just
of the
find
details.
out what legally, what our,
Okay. Well,
boundaries are. Next, please. Sorry, sir.
Good evening, John Evans, Lincoln Street, Hackensack.
What street?
Lincoln Street, Fairmont. And I called up Suez and they told me I don't have any worry about lead supply pipes in my particular area. That's
We're hoping we hear that a lot,
individuals
sir.
can-
We're hoping we hear that a lot, but we don't, at this point, we just don't know.
Right. And one should get a complete inventory. I'd like to two things. I'd like to pick up on the deputy mayor's point about shared services with a request. There are obviously a lot of trade-offs, stuff we do, stuff they do, the costs and so forth. That at a certain point when it's feasible and you have all the information, I think the public would like to know all of it, to see how it balances out what we do for them, what they do for us, and so forth, so that we have a very clear idea that, we are getting a good benefit. And the second thing is, I've been out of touch for the last couple of meetings, but I was obviously disappointed, as I take it the council members were, that the bond for the high school and the educational facilities went down to defeat in December. So really two things. One, what were the next steps that you're considering, and what were the lessons learned? Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to answer that?
I mean, just to answer briefly, we continue to meet, the city continues to meet with the Board of Education. We meet with them monthly. And, we're kind of helping them, and we're regrouping and collecting a lot of data and taking another look at coming up with a proposal for renovations. So things that we know are definitely needed in the schools. And that was a lot of what we heard back, a lot of what the feedback was, is folks wanted some options as far as what they could select to vote for. And I think the majority of folks that we reached out to and spoke with were saying it was, it was a real shame we wanted to get started with some of those renovations, because it was all tightly bundled together. That kind of prevented that from happening. So we're hoping, we're working with them hand in hand, and we're hoping to see them turn around a new renovation plan in the not too distant future that we can all be looking at.
Right. I think I had read or heard somewhere there was some misgivings about the bond covering a new facility as well as renovation of the old ones, and could we split them and so forth? Is there any direction as to whether you take care of, because obviously I was able to get my son, who was very keen to, even though he's no longer there, he said that place, he went to high school and middle school, really needs it. So he was very keen. So, but he was sort of scratching his head. A new high school, and so I wondered where that now stood.
Well, I think that's basically what we're seeing is we're hoping that what we're going to see in the short term is a good plan for renovating, because there's really some need. Some of those buildings have been neglected for a very long time. And, you know, we need to have a very safe place for all of our children to come to school each day. So I think that hopefully that will be coming, and we'll be seeing that again in the short term. I think some more data had to be collected before the decision was made for the new school, and I think that was a lot of the feedback. And I believe from what we hear from the Board of Ed, that they're doing that data collection now. So they're in that process. So let's give them the opportunity to collect their data.
Good.
I know they're doing some analysis of that data, and let's give them a chance to collect all that and come back and present it to the public. So I think that's what you're going to say.
And I would also, and I would also observe that, although I was aware of it because I attended the meeting and the discussion and everything like that, there was very little sort of advertisement that I was aware of, or get out the vote.
I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt you, Mr. Evans, but we're way past the 3 minutes. I apologize, though. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
But if you'd like to reach out to one of us right after this session, we'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you. Next.
Good evening. My name is Annette Jankowski, 344 Prospect Avenue. And I'm a member of the Condo Co-op Advisory Board, and one of our concerns has been the mid-block pedestrian crossings that was just brought up, and we had a lot of concern about it also. And we've had residents of our buildings hit by cars because they've crossed in the middle. And we also have, as you know, many bus stops. I myself have gotten on and off the bus, and I've crossed in the middle of the street rather than go to the corner. What we did last year was we did some research on the subject, and we spoke with law enforcement officials. And unfortunately, we were not happy to hear it, but mid-block pedestrian crosswalks cause more accidents statistically. We were shocked about that, and we were like, oh no, that can't be. Because as a driver, when you're driving, you're expecting at a normal intersection to kind of look both ways. You have a traffic light and you anticipate people crossing. Whereas mid-block, as a driver, you're not expecting to see that crosswalk and having someone just cross in front of your car. So believe me, I would love to see a couple of crosswalks on my street. One of the residents in my building was just hit by a car crossing the street. Unfortunately, the evidence and the statistics from law enforcement officials that we spoke to does not support that. So I truly don't know what the answer is, but I can empathize with what Regina was saying. So I just thought, for what it's worth, bring that to everyone's attention, because we were shocked.
There's other ways around it, and I'm going to ask the manager again to look into it. There are intersections. There's Atlantic
yeah.
Golf or American Legion
Right.
Way, I was thinking of there.
And Prospect is such a long street, and the buses, as you know, run all day.
I would only even, me personally, I would only even think about it at an intersection.
Yeah.
But my point being is,
Yeah.
and the bus stops are all going the opposite way, so anybody who lives on the east side is not going to walk to Central or to
No.
Passaic.
No, I know.
Walk all the
I
way
know.
back to catch the bus.
I know.
You're going to cross the street. And that's what's happening. But I don't know that if you put, say, at American Legion, for instance, and Prospect, if you put a crosswalk there, that people are going to walk to that either. I really, because people are,
I know.
A to B is the way most people go. I'll give you a perfect example on Atlantic Street near the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Going down the hill in the morning, the sun glare is horrific. There's a multi-million-dollar bridge for pedestrians to walk across from that parking deck.
Mm-hmm.
And at any given time, within 2 minutes, you'll see 30 jaywalkers. So people don't always take the safest route.
No, they don't. And as I said, our issue was at least put a couple of them at the bus stops.
Yeah.
So that, but
well, there is one right on American Legion over the bridge. There's a bus stop actually right
over
at
there,
the bridge.
but,
So something we can look at, but it may even require a stop sign there. But I don't know what that would do to traffic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, please.
Good evening, everyone. Peter Marcassani, Davis Avenue. I just came tonight just to let you know I still support you guys. I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't been here.
Thank you,
So
sir.
I figured it was appropriate to, just kidding, but I am serious about the support, and grateful for all your service to the city. And also to support Gary and Lorelei and Pedra and everybody from the Environmental Commission with what they're trying to do to the greenhouse. I'm under the impression that the greenhouse can be torn down, and that would cost money. We didn't tear the M&M building down. We said we're not going to do that, and we can't let it sit there the way it is, so we better do something with it. And I think everything that's been proposed for the greenhouse is certainly reachable, you know, one way or the other, with the remediation that's necessary and everything else. So I hope you move forward at a steady pace as the funds become available or as we receive donations. I know Steve's firm wants to donate some money, so now that we know it could be a direct donation, you know. The thing about the lead pipes intrigues me because I've been reading about it in the paper. I was always under the impression that just about the majority of all the service lines in Hackensack were lead. Am I wrong, Gary, or what? I mean,
I'll talk.
Yeah, all right. But, you know, service lines are lead. And my house is lead. A lot of the older homes are all lead from the street in. You know, cast iron in the street, but the service lines into the house are lead. So anything that can be done to move this along, I can see why, you know, Suez would balk and say this is a 20-year plan, because it's not something that's going to happen overnight. So any resolution that could speed it up a little bit, I think, would be appreciated. And the same thing I think is true with the sense of the council with what's going on with the other communities with the power plant and the Meadowlands. That a resolution that says, you know, we are, as a council, as a community, we are not in favor of this. It's not good. It's not the way of the future, and we oppose it. I think that would be a powerful statement to make. And last but not least, I was surprised. The shared services is really wonderful. My days at Xerox, there was a time when we had the gas crisis when we put gas tanks in the ground of every service organization for the technicians to fill up. And it didn't take long before they were all ripped out because they just weren't good. And we had other issues with it as well. That point being is that if there's remediation going on now at the DPW, I would hope that all of that will just be ripped out, cleaned up, and that'll be the end of it.
Has to be.
And we'll just get our gas from the county. And again, as more people come on board, they may have to improve their facilities, more pumps, more tanks in the ground, but at least it's consolidated, it makes sense, it's cooperative buying anyway, we're doing that. I mean, that's the best price. So I think that's really wonderful. And that's about it. The repairs, I guess, are always something that we look into, you know, what you can do here, you do, what you can't, you pass off. And if they can help with the trucks and the sweepers and another new garbage truck. Boy, another miracle. It's incredible. And a sweeper. You guys are just pulling money out of nowhere. Thank you very much.
And don't forget the sewer vac. That was our big. Don't forget the sewer vac.
Yeah, it's true. I saw a video how it works, but it didn't say what it was doing. It just stuck a hose in the ground. That was the end of it. Thanks, folks.
Thank you. Mr. Trezano?
I speak as a resident. Gary Tizano, Fairmount Avenue. In relation to the lead pipes, in 1968, when it was Hackensack Water Company, I worked the summer as a young man out of college, right before I went off to the Army. And we poured a lot of lead joints to connect lines, the ductile pipe in the streets. They were doing it then. When I came home from service in 1970, at certain locations, we poured lead joints. A couple of years, well, almost 20 years ago, my lead service coming into my house, which was built in 1925, sprung a leak. Luckily, we had the insurance through that leak guard, whatever it was called, that we had to purchase. And it was a $4,000 job and only cost us, I think, out of pocket, whatever the fee for the year was, $50 or $60. That was lead. Thank goodness it was removed from my house and copper was put in. But I'm going to say to the council and to the city government, be patient because it's going to be a long process to change out water lines and mains. And when you look at a large utility like Public Service, it's been going on for quite a few years, it takes a long, long time. So the key would be to coordinate with the other utilities before we tear a whole street up, pave it, and then have them come back and do it again. And who pays for that? So
we want to identify it, absolutely.
They're going through the town of Garfield right now with gas mains. That's been going on for about 2 years. And I heard from a relative of mine that works for a company that subbed out for Public Service that they're going to do a section of Hackensack shortly. I don't know where. But we are an old town, we have a lot of old water mains, and and you don't know until you open up the ground what you're faced. I think we've experienced some of that along our major redevelopment on Main Street. So, once again, it's gonna be a tough job, and it's gonna take some time, so we all have to be patient. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing nobody, a motion to close to the public?
Offer.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? All right, anybody have any words to speak?
We can wait till,
Yeah, we'll wait till later. All right, so I need a motion to go into closed session, please.
Offer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack deem it necessary to discuss certain actions under section 7B7 and 7B8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, which pertains to matters falling within attorney-client privilege, ongoing litigation, and personnel matters concerning the employment of a current or prospective public employee. Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack is of the opinion that such circumstances may presently exist, and whereas the mayor and council wishes to discuss the following issues: personnel matters, ongoing litigation, matters involving attorney-client privilege, matters involving the purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property, any pending or anticipated litigation or contract negotiations. Now therefore be it resolved, the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack deem it necessary to exclude the public from this discussion, and the outcome of the discussion will be disclosed within 90 days, or at such time as the interests of the city do not require confidentiality.
I know I will be speaking to the council about the Duardo case involving 64 Prospect Avenue.
Okay. That's it. Okay, I need a motion to close the executive session.
Offer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed?
And then a motion to close the cow meeting.
I need a motion to close the cow meeting.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed?